I always believed that love was supposed to come without conditions. Growing up, my mom ingrained that into me like a mantra: family means you support each other, no questions asked. But that was before I learned what family could truly mean, before it turned into a codependency that could suffocate your very being. I'm Ella, 29 years old, a mixed media artist and a dreamer at heart. I once thought my passion for art would lead me to a life filled with color and joy, but instead, it felt like it had bound me to chains I could hardly see. With each canvas I painted, each piece I sold, I always sent part of the income home. My father had fallen on hard times after losing his job. My mother was gone, a ghost I held onto tightly, convinced her spirit lingered in the paint-splattered walls of my studio. I wanted to do the right thing, to support my dad and my younger sister, Lily, a child with dreams too big for our worn-out neighborhood. But that day, I thought everything would finally change. It was early morning, the kind of chilly where you wrap your arms tightly around yourself instead of putting on a coat. I had just finished a rough draft of my latest piece. I could feel it in my bones. This was the one that would finally break through, the emotional turmoil of my life captured in one abstract swirl of colors. I printed a flyer announcing my first exhibition at a local gallery and pinned it to my studio wall, a milestone beckoning me forward. As I stepped into my small apartment, I could hear the muffled sounds of the TV from the living room. Dad sat sunk deep into the couch, an empty bottle of beer rolling around at his feet. "Morning," I offered, but he grunted in response, focused on whatever game show was blaring. Lily rushed by, her backpack nearly slipping off her shoulders as she sped toward the kitchen, excitement radiating from her. "Ella, did you hear? They're holding auditions for the school play. I want to audition." "Wow, that's amazing. What part do you want? The lead, I hope?" I aimed for encouragement, ruffling her hair as she passed. She rolled her eyes but giggled, the hormone-induced rebellion barely masking her eagerness. "Something like that," she shouted back, diving into the fridge to retrieve something for breakfast. My heart swelled at the brightness she brought, pure and untainted by the shadows of our home, but it wasn't long before my brightness dimmed. Dad's mood darkened as I made dinner. It started with a slight slur in his words, then a knock across the counter, resulting in a flood of heated words, blaming my artistic fantasies for his lack of support. "You think painting is going to pay my bills?" he yelled, slamming his fist on the table. I flinched, memories of distant shouting clawed at me. I had tried to defend myself, tried to remind him of all the sacrifices I had made, but words crumbled beneath the weight of his anger. "Why can't you just get a real job? You want to paint. Paint for someone else like a real artist," he hissed, his voice rising aggressively. "And while you're at it, where's my money?" Simultaneously, I could feel my heart sinking into my stomach, conspiracies of fear and resentment swirling inside me. Each paycheck I sent home had effectively become a continuous loop of guilt, and it was never enough. Each saving was met with accusations. Every attempt of support turned sour under his desperate hands. I did everything out of love, but the very love that I so admired was becoming my biggest cage. That night, I went to bed angry and worn, unable to shake off the bitterness that stung like a wasp. Sleep didn't come easy. Still, I managed to dream vividly. In that dream, I was inside an art show, the people around me gushing over a huge canvas of mixed colors. They whispered about the artist with reverence. They seemed to admire me, eyes sparkling. But just as I raised my brush to paint, the crowd parted and my father loomed over me, a dark shadow tainting my masterpiece. I jolted awake, breathing heavily. The next day, I decided it was time to break free. I had held my tongue long enough. After weeks of planning, my exhibition day arrived. I could almost feel the nervous energy buzzing beneath my skin. But instead of sharing in my excitement, my father dismissed it with rolling eyes. "You're just wasting money," he grumbled. Part of me wanted to lash back at him. Instead, I bit my tongue, recognizing it wouldn't achieve anything. I slipped out of the house before they could add to my fuel. The exhibition hall was alive, vibrant, and full. People mingled, glasses clinked, and laughter danced on the walls. The ambience wrapped around me warmly, easing the tension that had settled in my bones. I watched excitedly as guests began to admire my work, moving from one piece to another, captivated by the complexities woven through each stroke. 5 hours in, and my heart soared. People were touched by my work, sharing emotions I yearned to capture. Each compliment was a brushstroke painting joy across my canvas of dreams. But the moment I spotted my father walk through the doors with Lily at his side, my pulse quickened, the vibrancy of the night dulled. "Look at this," my father called to anyone in earshot, isolating me by breaking the earnest atmosphere. "My daughter thinks she's an artist. Can you believe that? She's been peddling this junk all evening." The laughter erupted from others as cold dread crept through my veins. Lily pulled on my sleeve, her small hand trembling, but I put on a brave face, not wishing to scare her. I took a breath and faced my father. "This isn't a joke, Dad. This is my life." "Oh, please, you think this is a real future, a real career?" He smirked, gesturing as though my achievements meant nothing. Everybody was watching. My heart was breaking. "I think you need to stop talking," I challenged, my voice steady, though it wavered internally. He stepped closer, invading my personal space. "You need to learn your place. You're still my daughter. You owe me. You owe us both for the years we've spent keeping you afloat." In that moment, I felt something inside of me snap. I was tired of being told who I was, tired of living in his shadow. "No, Dad." I opened my arms, grounding myself. "I've supported you and Lily for so long because I thought that's what family does. But I've realized support can't come with strings attached, and you don't own my dreams." In that hall, there was a profound silence, and for a heartbeat, I feared I'd broken something essential. But as I looked at the faces surrounding me, I saw the awe in some, even encouragement from those who once might have laughed at my work. "Life should be filled with color, not fear," I said softly, my heart racing. "From now on, I will create for me." With that, I turned away, ignoring the twist of rage in his voice. I wasn't returning to that pain. Days passed. I embraced my art more fiercely than ever. I poured the shadows of my narrow life onto the canvases, letting pigments breathe and bleed into each other, creating my own universe. A week turned into a month, and soon I found myself thriving, moving forward. I gained recognition, joined communities, and participated in art fairs. I was evolving, but it was Lily who truly made me realize how far I had come. One afternoon, I found her perched side by side with me on the living room floor, her dream of becoming a star twinkling in her eyes. "Can you teach me how to paint like you, Ella?" she asked shyly. My heart melted. "Of course I can teach you. First, we'll start with color mixing and then learn about textures." For the first time, there was no worry ringing in my ears, no fear of failure. It was just us, united by art. As I led her through the layers of imagination, I understand that in this moment I was finally choosing love rooted in support, a love without bonded chains. We painted, concocting a world together of wonder and possibility, flowing together amidst vibrant colors, an expansion into undiscovered realms of our tie. My father's grip on my life had long begun to fade. Shadows that once cloaked me were in the rearview mirror, leaving behind bright strokes of independence. I had taken heart to let my chaotic needs fall onto the canvas, and what emerged was a liberation waiting to be cherished. When day turned to night, I covered our creations and leaned beside Lily, a smile spreading across my face as I watched her drink in the magic. I was no longer afraid to rise. "If we don't fight for our dreams, then who will?" I whispered lovingly, and Lily nodded with certainty. To this day, I hold on to that moment like a vibrant highlight in my life. Paintbrush in hand, I learned that love should feed your soul, not bind you within it. And maybe, just maybe, I could teach that to my sister too. The real beauty came not just in the colors I used or the designs I created, but in the love that became untangled, illuminating clarity for not only me, but for the little girl beside me, who still whispered dreams into the air. So here I am, an artist, still painting my world colorfully, still dreaming, still evolving. And as I stare into the canvas of my future, I choose joy, growth, and the culmination of my truths. Love has a way of guiding us home, and I finally feel like I've found my way.